You have your calculator, and you have turned it on, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't know where it is, it's right here, and it says on. Now, sometimes, let me show you something real quick. Sometimes when you turn your calculator on, this screen comes up that says, hey, do you want to transfer test to test? No, don't mess with that. Just hit OK. Okay? And then you might be here. This is the home screen. Okay? You might be on a calculator page or some other page that somebody was using before you got here. I would like you to go to the home button. Press the home button. Go home. No, not that home. The home button. No crying. I got tissues. Okay. We want a new document. Okay? Remember, this calculator is a whole lot more like a computer than it is a calculator. So if we need a calculator page or a graph page, we really want to open a new document. We want to open a new document because we're dealing today with linear regressions. We want to open a document that is a list and spreadsheet. Okay? So you can either arrow down to number 4 or you can actually press the button number 4 and it'll come to something like this. Now, what does this look like to you? A table? An Excel spreadsheet, right? Well, do you remember that this was called a spreadsheet? Yeah, on purpose, right? So we need some data to put in this, don't we? So does anyone happen to have their book open to page 46? Okay, would you please tell me, talk to me about number 14. Do you see the table for number 14? Does it have a name for the X column? Or I think it's actually the X row, isn't it? Yeah, it's a horizontal table that we're going to have to convert into a vertical table. What is the name for the X's? Months. So we can actually go in here and type months. Now, I strongly encourage you to use the down arrow instead of the enter, because this box right here, I have to be honest, I don't really know what it does, but it does not like when you press enter. It just doesn't. Sometimes the calculators even explode. I'm just teasing. Okay. We just want to use the up and down arrows when we're entering stuff, especially here at the top. Down here at the bottom, it really doesn't make a difference, and sometimes enter is easier because it's right down here by the numbers. Okay? But especially up here at the top, please be careful using the enter button. Okay? Would you please tell me what the X values are? 9, 13, 18, 22, and 23. Okay, do you have all those values into your table? Okay. What do you think I might want to do next? The name for the Y values, right? What is the name for the Y values? Hair length. Okay, so we as humans are lazy. By nature, most of us are lazy, right? So we could type in hair length, or we could type in hair, or we could type in H or length, right? We could do any of those, but we want to make sure H is probably pushing it, okay? Because I don't know if H stands for height, or if it stands for hours, or if it stands for heat, or other words that start with H, okay? So I'm probably going to type in hair, because I'm going to know that means hair length, and it's shorter, right? Okay, so what are the values of the hair length? 3, 5, 7, 10, and 11. Now, I always want to check and make sure I have an equal number of X values and Y values. I don't need one more in the X column than the Y column, or the other way around, okay? Because if that happens, the next part's not going to work, okay? Now, from this point in time, there's a couple ways to do what I'm about to show you, okay? I'm going to show you the most visual way to start with. Later on, I'll show you the other way, because some people like that better, okay? But this is a way we're going to need eventually, so I'm just going to show it to you right now. Is that okay? Yep. All right. So watch before you do, please. I'm going to press Control. I know on my calculator it's blue. On yours it's probably yellow. Does everybody see the Control button? I'm going to press Control and Dock. It's right here. So do you see above that dot?
Miss Kingston.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see Lane Wisenhunt for just a sec, please?
Does he need to come right now, or can he come at the end of class?
It'll just be real quick. If he's taking a test, I can wait. But either way.
Just go ahead. It's okay. He's on his way. Okay, so does everybody see what's going to happen when I press Control Dock? How do you know what's going to happen?
It's in yellow.
Okay, so it's in yellow above, like it's in blue in mine, right? So it's going to say, oh, we're adding a page, right? So when we press Control Dock, we're going to add a page. We're going to go back to this screen. I already used a list and spreadsheet to put in my information. Now I'm going to use my data and statistics page to see what I need to see. Okay? So I can either press the number 5 or arrow down to 5 and press Enter. Chances are, right this second, yours does not look like mine. And that is okay. Right now it's thrown, we have 5 data points, right? Right now it's just thrown 5 points on the screen. We have to fix that. Use your cursor. Use your cursor. See that? Moving that. I'm going to move it down here to where it says click to add variable. Which variable goes along the horizontal axis of the graph? The X, right? So in this case, months. So I click and I add the months. Ugh. Hold on, I hit the wrong button.
Okay.
Enter. Whoa, did you see that? Did you see a move? Now what else do I need to do? Am I done?
No.
Oh, I got to do the Y's too, right? So I scoot my cursor over there, click to add a variable. Which variable goes along the Y-axis? Hair, right? Hair length. Now, I accidentally already told you what kind of regression we needed, but would you know what kind of regression we needed if I didn't tell you? What shape does this look like it makes?
Linear.
It looks like it makes a line, right? So would it make sense that we're doing a linear regression?
Yeah.
Menu, analyze, guess which one? Regression. Now, you're going to figure out pretty quickly that I don't say the numbers. I say the words. I learned that a long time ago before you were even born. Okay? Because as soon as I would memorize what buttons to push, they would change the menus. And if all I had memorized was the numbers of the buttons, I wouldn't know what to do. So I will always use the words for you. I might say regression, which is 6, but I'm always going to say regression. Okay? So again, you can arrow down to number 6, or you can press the number 6 to get the regression. What kind of regression did we say we were using? There's 2 of them. Why would you choose MX plus B? Because that's the one we're familiar with. If we were doing the other one, we really have to talk about that. Okay? So we're going to choose number 1, linear regression, MX plus B. Boom. Okay? Not only does it draw the line for you, but it gives you the equation. Now, some people have a problem with this. Because if you look especially at the 3rd dot, this line doesn't touch that dot at all. Guys, do you remember what a linear regression line is? It's a line that gets as close to as many dots as possible. It may or may not touch any of them, but it's the line that gets closest to every single dot as it possibly can and stay a line, right? So on number 14, you're definitely going to be needing this equation right here. And if you want to round to the thousandths, that's fine. What do I mean by thousandths?
The 3rd number.
Yep, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 3 decimal places, okay? You don't have to write that whole entire number, even though it's really not that long, but whatever, okay? The other thing that it asks you to do on number 14 is like talk about the slope. What does the slope mean in this problem? Well, how do we define slope again? Rise over run, right? Well, the rise in this particular problem is what word? Hair length, right? Divided by months. So one of the words that we use when we're talking about slope is per, isn't it? P-E-R means divide. So if we said hair length per month, what would that mean to you? think less massive stuff and think more English sentence. What does it mean, hair length divided by month?
The amount of hair length per month.
How much your hair grows per month. That's exactly right. Okay? So you've got to think about the words that are there to describe what's happening with the slope. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So that's what's going to be asked of you on 14 through 16. If you look at 19 through 25, it asks the same thing, but it doesn't give you a table. It gives you a graph like this. So you got to figure out what the points are and put those in this way. Okay? It also asks you about regression. Excuse me, not regression. I also want you to say something about correlation. Okay? If you have a group of dots on a graph like this, could I draw one line through those points that touched every dot? No, but I could draw a regression line. That's just a guess for the record. It's not official. Okay? But I want you to tell me what kind of correlation these points have. Well, you have three options. It can have a positive correlation, a negative correlation, or no correlation. How would you know what this one is?
Because it's going up.
Why would it be a positive correlation?
It's going up and it's a positive range. It's in the
If we calculated the slope of this line, wouldn't the slope be positive? Yes. If the slope would be positive, then the correlation is positive. If the slope would be negative, the correlation would be negative. If the dots are such on the graph that I really couldn't draw a line through them at all, guess what that is?
No.
No correlation. Very good. Okay?
also called this.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later though. Yeah. Okay? So, do you have any questions on what problems to do first of all, and then how to answer any of the questions about them? Yes, ma'am.
So, are you wanting us to draw the graph?
Yes, but the graph that I want you to draw, like remember how I asked you to copy the problems? I want it to look like this. Okay? I don't want you going like this, measuring them out exactly, and I don't need it to be a copyright, like a copy exactly of the one that's in the book. I want it to be a good representation of the one in the book. Does that make sense? Okay? What other questions do you have? Yes, ma'am.
On the 14 through 16, it says estimate y when x is equal to 15 and explain its meaning to the context of the situation.
So we have an equation for that one we just did, right? Here's the equation of the one we just did. How are you going to figure out what y is if you know x is 15?
You put 15 in.
You just plug in 15 for x and get an output for y. Okay? Any questions? Those were both good questions, by the way.